In the vast expanse of comic book multiverses, two names stand above all others: the Presence from DC and the one above all TOA from Marvel. These beings are not just characters, they represent the very concept of ultimate power within their respective realities. The Presence is often considered DC's equivalent of God, the divine entity responsible for creating the multiverse. He exists beyond time, space, and imagination, influencing the events of his universe in ways that remain largely unseen. Though the Presence rarely interferes directly, his power is acknowledged as absolute within the DC hierarchy. On the Marvel side, TOAA is depicted as the supreme force that governs everything in existence. Unlike the Presence, TOAA has directly interacted with characters like the Fantastic Four and Thanos. In some interpretations, TOAA is synonymous with the real-world creators of Marvel Comics, acting as an omnipotent being that transcends the story itself. He is seen as the highest authority, far beyond cosmic entities like the Living Tribunal or the Beyonders. Yet, despite this status, recent storylines have raised questions about TOAA's supposed omnipotence. Both beings are designed to be the final answer to the question of who is the strongest. But comic book narratives are constantly evolving, and as new characters emerge, the supremacy of these entities is continually tested. Are they truly the absolute gods of their universes, or have they been diminished by the ever-expanding cosmologies of DC and Marvel? To answer this, we need to explore how their power has been challenged over time. Power scaling. Are they truly omnipotent? When discussing omnipotence in comics, contradictions always arise. A being described as all-powerful should have no equal, yet in both Marvel and DC, newer characters constantly push the boundaries of power. In DC, the Presence has faced direct challenges, particularly in recent years. Characters like Perpetua, who was revealed as the creator of the multiverse before being overthrown, suggest that the Presence is merely one step in an even greater hierarchy. Similarly, Lucifer Morningstar, one of the strongest beings in DC, has expressed doubt about the Presence's ultimate power. If the Presence were truly omnipotent, how could there be beings that question or challenge his role? Marvel presents a similar issue with TOAA. Initially presented as the absolute god of the Marvel multiverse, TOAA has recently been undermined in certain stories. The One Below All, introduced as a dark counterpart to TOAA, suggests a duality that contradicts the idea of an all-powerful, singular force. In the Immortal Hulk storyline, it was implied that Hulk's power could rival TOAA itself, an idea that would have seemed impossible in earlier Marvel lore. Even the Living Tribunal, once the unquestioned second-in-commander to TOAA, was shockingly killed by the Beyonders, proving that even the highest cosmic forces in Marvel are not untouchable. These contradictions raise an important question. If both TOAA and the Presence can be questioned, defeated, or overruled in some way, are they truly omnipotent? If omnipotence means being above all conflict, then neither of them fully fit the definition. Instead, they operate as the highest known beings within their respective universes, but not necessarily as the absolute gods that exist beyond all limitations. Strengths, weaknesses, and narrative importance. Despite their similarities as godlike figures, the Presence and TOAA serve different roles in storytelling. The Presence is distant, rarely appearing in DC Comics, and is often spoken about rather than seen. His power is acknowledged, but the actual mechanics of his existence remain vague. He grants power to beings like the Spectre, who act as divine enforcers, but he does not interfere directly in mortal affairs. This makes the Presence feel more like an unseen force rather than an active participant in the DC universe. TOA, on the other hand, has had direct interactions with Marvel characters. He has appeared to the Fantastic Four in a disguised form, spoken to Thanos, and even taken the shape of Jack Kirby, one of Marvel's real-world creators. This metafictional element sets TOAA apart, making him feel less like a traditional god and more like an embodiment of the creative force behind Marvel Comics. However, this also creates inconsistencies. If TOAA is meant to be the ultimate being, why does he allow chaos, destruction, and the emergence of threats that seemingly rival his power? In both cases, the way these beings are written affects how they are perceived. The Presence's lack of direct involvement makes it difficult to measure his power accurately. TOAA's occasional appearances, while providing insight, also leave room for interpretations that contradict his omnipotence. In essence, both characters exist in a paradox, designed to be the strongest but still subject to the ever-changing nature of comic book storytelling. Who would actually win? If the Presence and TOAA were to battle, the logical answer should be a stalemate. After all, if both are omnipotent, neither should be capable of overpowering the other. However, given the inconsistencies in their portrayals, it is possible to argue that one might hold an advantage over the other. Looking at TOAA's track record, he has been more directly challenged than the Presence. The one below all's existence suggests that TOAA has a weakness, whereas the Presence has not been given a definitive counterpart in the same way. Additionally, Marvel's shifting power levels make TOAA's supremacy seem less stable. If the Hulk can match his strength in some interpretations, it raises doubts about whether TOAA is truly beyond all limits. The Presence, while also having its power questioned, has never been outright overthrown or surpassed. Even Perpetua, despite being portrayed as a fundamental force of creation, did not outright replace the Presence. Additionally, the Presence's ties to religious and philosophical concepts make him feel more untouchable within DC's narrative structure. This leads to an interesting conclusion. While both characters are meant to be omnipotent, the Presence seems less vulnerable to direct challenges. TOAA, despite being called the one above all, has been tested in ways that undermine his absolute status. Therefore, if forced to choose a winner, the Presence might have a slight edge simply because his power is less frequently compromised. Final verdict: the ultimate god of comics. In the battle between the Presence and the one above all, the answer is not as clear-cut as one might expect. Both characters exist as the highest authorities within their respective universes, yet both have been subject to limitations imposed by their own stories. If omnipotence were absolute, neither should be capable of losing. Yet, due to inconsistencies and evolving comic book lore, one appears slightly more stable in its supremacy. The Presence, while mysterious and often ambiguous, has not been directly undermined in the same way TOAA has. Marvel's tendency to introduce new cosmic threats means TOAA's role is always at risk of being redefined. Meanwhile, DC has kept the Presence largely untouched, maintaining his status as an unknowable force rather than an active participant. This gives the Presence an edge, not because he is necessarily stronger, but because he has been written in a way that avoids direct contradictions to his supremacy. Ultimately, the real answer to this debate depends on how omnipotence is defined. If both are truly all-powerful, then neither could ever lose. But if we judge based on how they have been depicted, the Presence appears to hold the stronger position. In the end, the ultimate battle is not between these two beings. It is between the writers and fans who continue to shape their stories. And as long as comics keep evolving, the debate over who reigns supreme will never truly end. Check out my other videos for more epic character crossovers and battles. Thanks for watching, and stay happy and healthy.